There is no limit to what we as women can accomplish. A very good and wonderful morning to everyone assembled here. I hope everyone safe and healthy. Here, Shobana, on behalf of JPR Institute of Technology, WIE Affinity Group, I welcome you all for the Women Entrepreneurship and Empowerment Forum WEAF 21. Now, I share my heartful welcome to our chief guest, Ms. Yukti Kapoor Meganti Ratta, Dr. Srimati Kesan, and Ms. Preeti Gurusamy, ma'am. Welcome you, ma'am. Next, I call upon Ms. Somashri from second year Electronics and Communication Department to deliver welcome address. Please, Ms. Somashri.
Thank you, Ms. Shobana. As per the institution vision, JPR Institute of Technology aspires to provide technical education in futuristic technologies with the perspective of innovative, industrial, and social applications for the betterment of humanity. On this blissful day, on behalf of our beloved Managing Director, Sir Dr. N. Mary Wilson, our respected Principal Ma'am, Dr. Ella Merlin Winston, and our Honorable Chief Guest, Ms. Ipti Kapoor Mehendrita, founder and CEO of SPY Academy, Leadership and Educoach, awardee of National Women Excellence Award. Dr. Srimati Keshan, founder and CEO of Leading Science and Technology Incubator, Space Kids India, awardee of Inspirational Global Women 2020. And Ms. Preeti Gurusamy, founder Lean in Women in Tech India, engineering leader in INTU and now I welcome our respected counselor of JIT IEEE Mrs. M. Benisha, Assistant Professor of ECE Department and JIT Nano Satellite Project Director, and JIT IEEE Mentor Dr. X. Kamakshi, HOD of ECE Department. And finally, I welcome our EXACOM members, volunteers, and my fellow mates, and all my dear participants and friends for the wonderful day. Once again, I welcome you all.
Thank you, Ms. Somashri. Next, I call upon Ms. Sandhya from first year Electronic and Communication Department to deliver about the event. Please, Ms. Sandhya.
Thank you, Ms. Shobana. WEAF 21 Women Entrepreneurship and Empowerment Forum is a flagship event of JIT IEEE WIE Affinity Group. The basic motto of our event is to enhance the entrepreneurship skills and empowerment of women. This forum paves the way to fortify courageous, independent, creative women entrepreneurs. It's a happy moment that we have successfully completed the first year and we step into the second year of WEAF, Women Entrepreneurship and Empowerment Forum. I want to convey my heartfully thanks to all our chief guests for the event WEAF 21. And I want to convey a very special thanks to Ms. Yukti Kapoor Mehendirata, Dr. Srimati Kesan, and Ms. Preeti Gurusamy. Thanks for spending your valuable time with us, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sandhya. Next, I call upon Ms. Lakshmi Prasanna from first year Electronics and Communication Department to deliver Chief Guest Profile. Please, Ms. Lakshmi Prasanna.
Thank you, Ms. Shobana. Ms. Yukti Kapoor Mehendrita ma'am is the founder and CEO of SBY, beloved by Yukti Academy, a certified leadership coach, a mentor, an advisor, and acknowledged speaker on various corporate, social, and entrepreneurial platforms, including Unplugged by TED Gateway. Ms. Yukti's ma'am has been recognized as among the top 10 women startup CEOs 2020 by a prestigious business politician called CEO Insights. She has also been awarded with National Women Excellence Award 2018, extended by Indo-European Chamber of Small and Medium Enterprises. Inspired by Yukti's ma'am life, Rinku Pal and Pooja Saigal have included her life journey in their authored book called Dare to Be that features 14 fearless women entrepreneurs of the country, creating a new young India, making space explorable and economical for the future generation. This was known by Dr. Srimati Kesan. Dr. Srimati Kesan, founder and CEO of a leading science and technology incubator. Space Kids India is helping children reach out to the stars, quite literally launched in 2011. Space Kids India has designed and multiple programs that are aimed at creating the next generation of scientific thinkers in India. Dr. Srimati Kesan is the only Indian to receive the Regal British Award at the House of Lords, UK in the Trilateral Global Summit in 2019 by World Humanitarian Drive. Ms. Preeti Guruswamy is a leadership coach who leads new development and growing established projects. Ms. Preeti Ma'am is the founder and regional leader for Lean In Women in Tech India, one of the fastest growing women in tech network in India, which now has 3,500 plus women members. She led the group success and received the 2018 Lean In People First Award. She is also an advisor for the NGO which works for the education system in Bangalore. Ms. Preeti Ma'am works at a level of values, thinking and beliefs, ensuring meaningful and honest conversations, thus sustainable transformation and support change.
Thank you, Ms. Lakshmi Prasanna. Now I request Benicia ma'am to felicitate our chief guest, Ms. Yukti Kapoor ma'am, with memento.
So good morning, ma'am. So this is Benisha, IEEE Student Branch Counselor of JPR Institute of Technology. So on behalf of JPR Institute of Technology, we feel very honored to felicitate you. Thank you for gracing this occasion with your presence, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Now I request Benicia ma'am to felicitate our chief guest, Dr. Srimati Kesan ma'am, with memento.
So hi, ma'am. I feel very honored and privileged to felicitate you on behalf of our institution. So, and thank you so much for guiding us and motivating us since 2016 for being associated with our institution. Thank you, ma'am.
Pleasure, dear. Pleasure. Very happy to be here.
Now I request Benicia ma'am to felicitate our chief guest, Ms. Preeti Guruswamy ma'am, with memento.
So, good morning, ma'am. We feel very happy to have you here. So, and I am very happy to honor you. So, Ms. Preeti Gurusamy, founder, Lean in Women in Tech India. Thank you so much for gracing this occasion, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Thank you ma'am. Now I call Jinu from first year Electronics and Communication Department. The session, please, Ms. Jinu.
A very good
Jinu,
morning, panelists.
continue that.
A very good morning, panelists. We are really so much excited to listen to your answers and views from all our three wonderful panelists. And it's time to get into our panel discussion. Let's move on to our first question. And our first question is, what was the one thing you wish that you could have known it earlier in your career? Let's start with our first panelist, Yukti Kapoor, ma'am. Ma'am, I request you to answer our question. What was the one thing you wish that you could have known it in your career earlier?
Well, the list is really long on all the things that you could have done in the past and you didn't, especially at your age. The focus is to have more and more fun, and that's where I was when I was there. So looking back, I think one of the most important things that I should have known better was how to set goals. Goal setting is a tool that we all need to equip ourselves with. And when you are clear about what you're seeking, then clarity brings in a lot of courage. So I think that is something that I should have spent some more time on, getting clarity on my goals. That's one. And like I said, it's a long list. But another thing that I really want to mention is the ability to include people. When we are trying to create a career for ourselves, we feel that we are alone in this journey and we try and figure out everything by ourselves. Not important. It's not even needed. it in fact helps to include people like mentors, advisors, people who are in the field where you want to grow and prosper. Reach out to them for advice. You will be surprised to see how many people are willing to help. Just that we don't put our hand up and ask for that help. So I think if I could go back, I would change these two things for sure.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable answer. Next, I request Dr. Srimati, ma'am, to answer our question.
This is a very sensitive question, I think. And for me, what I feel is take every step as it comes, because your growth and your maturity, it develops as you walk. So don't keep planning too much. And, when you're young, it's always nice. Certain things you have to make and break, fall and get up. All these things you have to learn in the journey of growth. So for me, I always felt that, what I was learning, what I was picking up as I grew, as I moved forward, is very important. So I don't regret, or I never think that, I should have done this, I should have probably, dropped this. No, nothing. I think I'm very good in whatever has happened until now, and whatever is going to happen henceforth. So I think I've answered your question. Take things as it comes.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable and lovable answer. Next, I request our third panelist, Preeti, ma'am, to answer this question.
Yeah, I think I resonate very much with what Yukti and Kesar said, Dr. Kesar said. There's so much on the list, right? I mean, there's so much on the list to say that, okay, we didn't do, or we didn't. But there was one that I think I should have done is believe in yourself. Uh, we always doubt ourselves when we are going forward. I think we shouldn't. We have the ability to do, and I can do attitude needs very important, and that comes with the belief within that we have. I developed this belief a bit little later in my career, but I think when I started believing myself is where I saw a steep change in everything that I do. So that is definitely one thing that I would want to change. And going back to what Yukti mentioned also is asking for help, mentors, people around you, peers. I think that is very critical. While it at the very early stage of a career where we want to do so much, where we have so much of creativity, we hesitate to ask help, and have mentors around you. Have as many mentors as possible. I think these are the two important things. If I could change, I would definitely change. Today, I have a lot of mentors. I have a lot of coaches around me. I wish I had created this system earlier. So I think these two are the things which I'll definitely change if I have an opportunity.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable answer. And let's move on to our second question. And the second question is there any difference between feminism and women's empowerment? If yes, what are those? And as usual, I request Yukti, ma'am, to answer the question. Please, ma'am.
So my personal view is that feminism comes with a negative connotation, but the intent is the same. The intent is to empower women. Uh, who we label as feminists usually are those who are very passionate about voicing their concerns related to what limits women to grow within our culture or even globally. But I think the intent is the same. The idea is to ensure that we are creating space for both men and women to grow together. In fact, I want to see this stage before I close my eyes for this lifetime, and have a level field. That's what I want to see before I go away from this planet, to see that there is no need for us to talk about empowering women. We don't talk about empowering men, right? But we often talk about empowering women. So that pretty much confirms that we still need to be empowered. I think as leaders, we need to be empowered, leaders of our own life. But to come back to your question, it's the same in terms of intent. For me, what differs between the two is the connotation that we attach to feminism, which is a little more negative than calling it women empowerment. That's all for
Thank
me.
you so much, ma'am. Thank you for your valuable and superb answer. And next, I request Srimati ma'am to answer the question. Please, ma'am.
Okay, I think there is a thin line. It's just the understanding of people. See, if you have to speak about women loud and clear, people brand you as a feminist. They say, why do you have to speak so loud that you need something, you need to voice out? But I think globally, it is mandatory that we have to still fight for our rights. It's such a sad state of affairs that we have to still fight for affairs. Today we have the election results. If you see, hardly there are about 5, 6 women in the whole list of electoral mandate. I mean, what's the point? We are nowhere there in politics. So then how do we understand what does a woman need if we are not given the leadership roles? Unfortunately, I have to use the term, if we are not given, that word given. It is not that it is our right, we have to take it, we are there. No, because if you're going to speak that way, then you are labeled or tagged as a feminist. Women empowerment is empowering another women. I think that starts from the grassroots level. Most of the women these days are doing that. Educated women supporting uneducated, uneducated women being there, and as the workforce, they take up leadership roles and they support women in the leadership roles. So that way women empowerment is happening everywhere. But this tag of feminism, I think, should be broken, because not many people who are voicing their views for the purpose of women should be branded as feminists, because everything is femininity, everything is woman, everything is beauty around. So it's just that how you accept it and walk through.
Thank you, ma'am. That's an outstanding answer. And next, I request Preeti ma'am to answer the question. Please, ma'am.
Thank you. Uh, Feminism is there, right? And as soon as we say we're feminist, like Yukti and Srimati said, there's a negative connotation that is right. Frankly speaking, feminism doesn't have a gender, right? It's a movement. It's a movement to bring equality and equity. Women empowerment is to make sure that we have more women and create the space for women. I'm going back to what Dr. Srimati said, telling that opportunities are not given, right? So empowerment is the space created so that women can take those opportunities, right? That's about women empowerment and feminism. Just going back a little bit to our history itself, right? We call our nature as feminist, right? And if you look at the way Shiva or Parvati is made, right, there's both masculinity and feminist, both to be there. So in the ecosystem, these both need to be balanced. Unfortunately, today that balance is not there. And while people like us, or many more people like us who are trying to create this balance, get this negative connotation about feminist. But it is not negative, right? What I would say is, we need to take that with a lot of proud with ourselves, telling that yes, we are feminist, yes, we are here to bring that change, and we'll continue to bring the change. So that is really important. And today, all of this are happening. It's just that we need to be with this change.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a sensational answer. And next, we can move on to our next question. That is third question. It's based on our recent criteria, and the question is, do you think women working in corporate world are at more risk due to pandemic COVID-19? I request Yukti ma'am to answer the question.
So your question is it risky for women to be in the corporate world right now because of pandemic?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, so it's as risky as it is for men, isn't it? Because the virus, fortunately or unfortunately, doesn't distinguish between whether it's attacking a man or a woman. So one place where there is equality by default is when we have to get attacked by a virus such as that. So I think it's a time for us to all stay safe and be responsible for our own selves, because when you take care of yourself, you make sure that others have one less person to be taken care of. And with you being okay, you ensure that you are able to serve and help 5 other people around you. So let's take that as an individual responsibility to keep ourselves safe and protected. And if it's risky for women to step out, so it is for anybody else. Not a good time to step out. So let's stay safe and stay home.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. It was a great answer. And next, I ask Srimati ma'am to answer the question.
I think Yukti's answered bullseye because, virus doesn't know whether it is a man or a woman. It's going to attack everybody. Just that when you're in the corporate world, I probably will add a little, that you've got better connections and everything. So we could probably help people who are affected by this pandemic. And, women are good at juggling things and doing multiple roles, wearing multiple hats. So I think being in the corporate world, that extra zing thing is there. So they can definitely make a positive change, positive difference in the society, helping people for, the pandemic.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, I request Preeti ma'am to answer the question.
I have very few words after Srimati and Yukti to go. But I will, what I would answer this question a little differently, and I agree with both of them that the virus doesn't have gender, right? As I said, the feminist word itself is a genderless. Similarly, the virus doesn't have a gender. And it's very important, I think I would start with that statement, for all of us to stay at home. And it's no more being a good citizen, it's more of being a good human at this point of time. Right? Just to be a good human, stay at home and make sure you protect your family and your society. So it's very simple to protect and give back to your society is to keep yourself at home safe. You don't have to struggle hard, and everybody of us can do. Just to add to what is happening on the corporate world, because I come from the corporate space as well, and from Lenin and the company called McKinsey, which does women at workplace report every year, including this year, it did find that women in the corporate actually are more affected due to the pandemic. Main reason why is because women are juggling. They do more than 10% more work right now because they don't have help at home. They do have to do extra work at home, and their equality is more important. As we say, charity begins from home, equality also should begin from home, right? And that doesn't happen actually, right? While corporate world is striving hard to bring in equality for women, it also means the same people in the corporate, when they go back home, they need to bring the same equality for their women at home. Right? For example, I'll just give you my example today that, I am here and I have a 18 months old daughter, right? And she's all around the house, and this is the time that she's pretty playful, and, she's like all happy. But I'm managing both of them, and the only way I was able to manage is I did give the shift to my husband. He openly, heartily took it up. So there is an equal partnership that needs to go at home for corporate world to be stabilized. right? And a lot of women in the corporate and senior women in the leadership are stepping down as per the report. And this is the truth I have seen in my own eyes, is because the work at home, there's no line between work at home and at the work. Everything is there around you, and the workload has increased. The workload in the corporate has also increased due to pandemic to serve people. But there's a less especially women whose children are less than 10 years are seen more to leave the corporate job, because managing kids below 10 years becomes difficult. So yes, there is steep, either women take lesser role or there is leaving of the corporate role, and there is a steep decrease. And this pandemic has actually gone back like 5 decades back up, before 50 decades back up, because of the current situation that they're not getting at home and at office. So in that way, yes, it does impact women.
Thank you, ma'am, for your fantastic answer. And let's move on to our fourth question. And the fourth question is, which is, what is the current status of gender equality in our society in giving opportunity to women? See, ma'am.
Okay, so we've got to reframe the question in light with what Dr. Kasan has already said, that opportunities are not given to anybody, opportunities are created by all of us. Having said that, when I was kind of doing my own research to share the best I can with you all in this talk today, I was so pleasantly surprised to see some stats that I want to share with you in terms of what is the state of equality or inequality at a global level. So when it comes to women who are working at senior level, senior management, India right now ranks third in the world with 39% women holding senior positions. The global average is 31%. So if there was ever a chart that made me feel bad about being third, was population. But it's just such a pride to be third in a list of women being at a senior level position. Not only that, even if you look at the C-suite positions, women in India are much better off compared to the global average. Having said that, there are many countries globally where it's still a patriarchal society. There are still issues. So don't compare this directly with US. Don't straight go to European countries. The world has many more countries than just those. But all said and done, if you look at the overall performance, I think India is a good story. It's coming out really strong as far as women are concerned. Now, let me just touch upon the work from home scenario. No, is it making situation worse or is it making situation better? Now, as a woman, I might have my own personal view to say that when you step out of the house, you can leave the house responsibilities behind and focus more at work. So that might be a better thing for me to do personally. But again, referring to stats and a survey done by Women in Business 2021, they have been able to conclude that 88% of women in India believe that work from home is going to give them much better career opportunities and career growth if it continues, as against a global average of maybe around 69%. So to conclude, uh, is it a story of equality as yet? No. But are we getting there? Slowly but surely. I think the last time I was in such a panel discussion talking about women was with Lean. And that time our numbers were around 7%, 9%. And from that to a 39% growth, I think is huge. Of course, there is scope to do a lot more, but seems like we're on the right track.
Thank you, ma'am, for your excellent answer. Happy to hear this from you. And next, I request Srimati ma'am to answer the question.
Well, Yukti, you mentioned right 7% and 9%. When I was debating, it was 4%. The glass ceiling level was 4%. And, from 4%, it's like, we've all pushed and pushed and pushed, and, we brought it to 39%. And, 75 years of Indian independence. Come on, what is this? Are we satisfied with 39%? No way. So that is where your questions are interlinked. I'm very happy because you initially started off with feminism, and today we are talking about, I mean, at this moment, we are talking about the percentile of women, empowered women. So, I think we need more feminists now. I have to tell that. Because there is so much that a woman can give for the country. It's so unfortunate that still we have to go in as beti bachao, beti padhao, and all these things. When you watch in television, you get so deeply hurt. Because why is that? You need to have such campaign. Why is it that you need to run such campaign where you have to force people to understand that a woman needs basic education? Then you go in and step up into corporate world and everything. Basic education is not given to women. That is a sad state of affairs, I should say. So where is the equality? I think I would definitely say that there is a lot more to go, lot more to work hard. Yes, of course, I'm proud that there are a lot of women leaders coming up, but how long do they climb up the ladder? How long, how far do they go? It's very, very minuscule percentile, I should say, that women are. Any woman you ask her who is the CEO that you think of, immediately people say Indra Nui. I mean, how many years are we going to still think and talk about only Indra Nui? Are there no other women? I mean, so I would say that we have a lot more to work hard, and please bring in all those feminists to, scream and yell and say we need equality.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. It was a superb and reasonable answer. And next, I request.
So you decided it is a reasonable answer. So come on, girls, you have to fight out. Come on.
Yeah, ma'am.
We cannot be satisfied and happy with what is thrown to us. We are supposed to move forward, march forward, and we are all banging on you children. All you young children, we are banging on you, because women in science, women in tech, because I come from that background. In the space industry, I'm the only woman in the country who is working in the aerospace. There is nobody else. You pull these children also, I have to go early home, I have to do this. Seldom even the women, shrug the responsibilities. That's another thing that I really want to voice out. You women should be bold enough to take in responsibilities when thrown on you. Don't shrug it, and don't have the feel that, probably you are not qualified for it. You are qualified, you are capable for it. So please understand yourself. So this is very important, and especially when I'm talking to college students, I always want to drive this straight into your head that please don't have that self-pity in you. Don't feel that men have to rule and we women are very good only with household. Please forget that statement today, now.
In fact, Dr. Kesan, if I may share, my secret, I've always put my hand up before I was prepared to take up the responsibility. And that's what we've got to do. Put your hand up and you'll figure out a way to do it. And guess what? Men do that all the time. It's time that we are comfortable doing that too. When we are 95% prepared, we even then don't put a hand up because it's still not 100%. And they are barely 50% prepared, and they're out there saying, give it to me, bring it on. So we've got to say, bring it on more often, isn't it?
Nobody is born with all the skills, right? You just learn, you acquire skills. So why not raise your hand and then acquire? No problem. Beautiful, Yukti. That's the way to go.
Thank you. Preeti, let's bring you in. We just totally got carried away.
No, that's actually right. I mean, I started my career 2 decades ago, and at that point of time, it was a lot of struggle. But today, every time what I say is, now is the golden era for all the women out, just not women, the girls out there. I think at the beginning of this conversation. You guys asked us, all of us, one of the questions: what is that one thing you could change? And Dr. Srimati also mentioned that believe in yourself. And I think that is one thing that changes everything. And the research is true that women actually take, even if they are like 100% ready, they don't lift their hands. So, and I actually wonder why. And honestly, even I did that, right? I mean, I don't hesitate that I did not do that mistake. I did that mistake, but when I realized that mistake, I stopped doing it. And today, even if I don't know what's coming in, my hand is already up. Where, right? So make sure your hand is already up. Even when why there are times that as a woman you need to take a break, honor that break. I mean, don't get into the guilt trap of why you are supposed to take. Honor that break, and set your expectation with people around you. That is very, very important. uh, uh, I think both Yukti covered and even Dr. Srimati covered is about creating opportunity, right? We are always in the position about telling that, hey, what is that we are given, right? Stop doing that. As I said, this is the era of a golden era for women. Everybody around us are creating the space, right? Join the force to create more space. More the people, like more the feminists who will come in, more the space will come get created, right? It's not enough to say I'm a feminist, right? It is important to move forward to create that space for yourself and for others, right? The moment you create a space for yourself, you will create space for others and pull more people in. There is this saying, right? If you want to go alone, if you're running fast, you go farther. When you go together, you go further. So more the people, more feminist. And the stats, Yukti, were very great that you brought in. We have come very far off, but we are still not yet there, right? For us to be there, you guys have to be present from the day one, even before you join the workforce. Be present for yourself, nobody else, right? And don't try to prove for others. Be present and be very well satisfied.
Preeti, one point, I think many Indian women falter, and I'm so proud that you mentioned that you were also one of the girls who actually shied away, roles initially, and only then you actually accepted. Well, that is because of the brought up, I would say.
Yes.
It is that you are pressured in a house, in a family where there is a male child and a female child. It is always that the female child is given a second thing. Of course, now parents, educated parents, and there are a lot of parents who go out of the way and say, no, both my children are the same. Probably the societal pressure that parents went through, or are going through, what they do is they kind of give that backseat to the girls. You are only eligible for this kind of an education, and afterwards we kind of will get you married, and after that, it is your in-law side or your husband who needs to give you permission. Many a times I've heard this word, the husband should give you the permission to work. What is this? I mean, it's ridiculous. Well, if I have to say, I went through the whole rigmarole, 16 years of sabbatical. I was there at home because South Indian family, typical South Indian family, and they were like, oh my God, you want to go? In fact, I was an all-rounder. I was a national basketball player who played 16 nationals. I was a paratrooper and an all India silver medalist firing and all that. And straight away I went into the pan. So I have my TED talk which says sword to spatula. I says most of the women in my era, I think, went the same way. Directly from college to the spatula. So it is all the brought up and the way the parents keep telling you, you are made for the kitchen, you are made for the kitchen, you are made for the family. but it's not anymore that way. The GDP is going to sink if women are not in the forefront.
I absolutely agree with you, Dr. Srimati. And in fact, my role model was my mom, and she's still my role model because she was a working woman, and she strived quite a bit. But to the fact that you're bringing on society, for me as a brought up, it was very important to have education and have a job for yourself. Right, that was a base minimal. So even while I was dating my husband, one thing that I put my clarity on the plate is like, I'm going to work, right? You decide whether you're going to marry me or no.
This
So
clarity wasn't there 20 years back.
Yes,
I come from that era where it was 20 years back.
and the fact, but even then, even in spite of it, I still hesitated to put my hand up because about the society, as you enter into the society, even though if I think it's the balance of home and the society, which would help you to lift up your hand, right? Even though I know that I had given all empowerment at home, but when I entered the workforce, the society around me which said, there are so many times, even now, I mean, recently people have said that my earning money is my pocket money, right? Where today I'm the breadwinner of the house. Even then I'm said, okay, my earning is the pocket money, right? And I'm earning because I have all the help at home. And frankly speaking, I didn't have any help. In the last 1 year, I didn't even take any help at home at all because of the COVID situation. But people have this perception, right? And the more the women move forward, you will always be labeled. The only thing that I would say is chuck the labels that you're given, or you don't put the labels for yourself. One of the things that we do is we pick up all the labels as we walk to the world. Stop picking up these labels, right? Just, I think my mantra is just believe in yourself and move forward. And this is definitely the golden era for all women. And you women who are like young can make use of it so much that while you are at our age and stage, there is no more word of feminism and there's no more women empowerment is required.
Here, I would like to add a few words, Preeti. I would say, you say that just walk with pride, forget all this, shrug everything. But what happens is, body shaming. Men only can put you down with that,
Easy.
you know, and character analyzing. If
Very.
you raise your hand, oh, she's a bold woman. She can do anything for this. That kind of a label, that kind of a tag. I was a parade commander, in the NCC, NCC, and 450 boys, and I had to stand before them. So if you can see my personality, I was a round girl then also. So what happens is when you have to tuck in your shirt and when you have to stand in front of them, and they are exactly behind you, the kind of talk, small talk, I would say,
Yes.
अरे ये पुट्टी को देखो है कैसी है, the structure and the back, and they'd like to. But if you are bold enough to say woman, and that's it. Not a man will just say anything. But that's where I think there is a little difference. We women shy away when people talk about our body. When they talk about our character, we start crying. I think young girls shouldn't be doing that, and they have to just turn around, give a stare, and say, guys, we know what we are doing. I think this is a very, very important thing for all these college kids now.
I absolutely second that. And I think, we should take pride in using adjectives like being ambitious as a woman, which is considered as such a negative thing. I mean, look at the difference in the thought process when you hear a statement like, he can do anything to be successful. And you think, wow, that's like someone with fire in the belly. This guy is a go getter. And now you change just one word from he to she. She can do anything to be successful. And now the eyebrows are going up and down, and the stories are created in your head already, and you're checking her out from head to toe. Oh, really? She can do anything to be successful. right? And all that you did was just changed one word. But look at how.
Can I have your phone number?
I'll help you to be successful. Yes, I think we should bring Ginu in. He can go on like this. Our dear moderator, come in and take the discussion forward.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. And it was truly inspiring, and we felt so happy to hear this from all of you. As you all wished on behalf of JPR Institute of Technology, I wish to convey that all our JIT girls will surely work so hard and make their own opportunities and achieve even more to elevate women empowerment in our society. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, all the three. And next, I wish we could move to our next question. That is, our fifth question is, which work gives more pressure to women, either online or offline? Yukti, ma'am, please do answer, ma'am.
So I'm going to tell you what's happening here at my place. Okay. Between two meetings, I'm in the kitchen, or cook something, come back, attend the meeting, then go back and check if the laundry is done and come back. And while I do that, there is a very clear understanding of the chores that each one of us has taken. We are a family of four. I have twins who are now 10, and my husband who also has no choice but to work from home. So between us, we've divided the chores, and we are responsible for doing what needs to be done at home. Having said that, let me confess that in our mind as women, we take leadership role at home more than anywhere else. So I feel compelled to go and still check whether he's done what he's supposed to do, have the kids done what they're supposed to do. And if they haven't, I run out of patience to wait for them to do it. I go and do it. And that's where I want to highlight how sometimes it's important to step back, right? You've given the chores, you've had the discussion, back off. Now, the problem with us is the self-talk. So even when Preeti was saying, I was listening to her so carefully because she said, my partner comes in to partner with me, right? My husband is partnering, and it's partnership. It is partnership. It's life partnership. But are we careful about the language that we use? Which means when I ask you to do something, I'm asking for help. Can you help me lay the table? Can you help me do the laundry? How are you helping me? It's my house and yours, right? So when I'm doing something, I don't hear anybody say, can you help me do that? I just do it. And it's not that people are not ready to be included. It is just that we invite them at home, their own house. We invite our life partners, our spouses, our other family members, the men in the house, instead of including them. Because when you include them, you give them the space to do things at their own pace. You don't need to ask for help, because when you do, they think they're doing what they're doing to help you. Are you getting the difference? Then it is not a shared responsibility of the space that we all share together and live together in. So I think I just want to bring your attention to the fact that if this online world has to go on, which is what it seems like, it is a great boon. It can really add to our productivity because it keeps us closer to our family, and we don't have to rush back to anybody. We are with people who matter, and at the same time, we can give undivided attention to work. But it requires a few things to be cleared out. Number one, we've got to be okay to ask for help. We have to learn to ask for help. Include people, don't invite people in the house. Number two, back off, give people the space to do things the way they do it. They might not do it the way you do it, but it's all right. At least it's being done. In fact, that is a leadership trait. How you delegate is a function of how much can you let go of the perfection, because what's more important than perfection is progress, right? But if the question is, will you do it as well as I? If you can't, then let me do it instead. Then go ahead and do everything. Then online world will crush you under it, because you will feel stretched between the kitchen and the laptop. But you don't have to. So the point that I'm making is, ask for help, back off, don't seek perfection, be okay with progress being made, and allow people, your family members, people around you, to be included in what needs to be done. Don't just invite them as guests. If we do that, then I think online world is a great format. It's quite a win-win situation, as much as we'll eventually go offline. Yeah, that's what I feel.
Thank you for sharing your excellent views, ma'am. Next, I request Srimati ma'am to answer the question.
Well, I would take 75% of whatever Yukti is said. I would second everything because women are perfectionists. Most of them are perfectionists, and allowing men. We always tend to say, "Oh, no, 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 don't do that. You probably will drop this. Oh, you will probably mess this around." And you just rush to do something, and you volunteer. I mean, so what? It's everybody's house. One day it's okay. If it's messier, it's messier. That's it. They will learn. We don't allow to do that. So that perfectionist hat, we wear that, and we kind of dig into all the details. So that's terrible. So that's the reason I always felt that online probably 50% for whatever it goes now. We definitely need to step out, and for the mental balance and mental well-being, I always felt more than the physical trauma or physical strain, it's the mental balance that is what is required for a woman. So I think she needs to step out of the house because a house is like a kingdom for her, and 100% she gives 200% to the house, and she keeps thinking too much about everybody and everything. So for which there needs to be a break. She needs to take that break, and that break comes when she steps out, when she wears the corporate hat or the entrepreneurial hat. I think there is a change. She gets to meet a lot of different people, tends to talk different subjects, and this will keep a balance in her health. So for which I think she needs to step out. So online, yes, okay for now, but I prefer that women need to step out because 16 years of sabbatical has taught me that anything in the house is like oh my god, you too much to take. So even if it is family, you need to give a break for that too. You need to move away from them for some time. So I would vouch for going out and working, that is offline working.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your outstanding answer. And next, I request Preeti to answer.
I think I'll start with my answer with the word perfection, right? And this good saying is perfection is the enemy of the best. This quote came into I've read this quote many times, and I think a few years ago when I actually came across this, it kind of held me back because I used to think perfectionist is being perfectionist is a good thing, and I soon realized being perfectionist is not, right? Be it at home, be it at work, this is always a problem. As I was talking about my daughter, 18 months, I mean, in my house, even before COVID, I think me and my husband have always divided work because both of us are working. There are times I never had help as such. We kind of managed the house by ourselves, but we could do that because there was an equal partnership with both of us, right? Even today, the dinner is made by my husband, lunch and breakfast, while we do it. And my daughter gets confused sometimes if I get into kitchen during the dinner time because for her at the time, month of 18 months, everything is about routine. And she sees, okay, what's wrong today? Why is mama in the kitchen? Why is papa outside? So she expects that thing. And now she doesn't see, like, she it is what she is seeing becomes more important, right? She doesn't see that mama is in the kitchen. She sees both mama and papa in the kitchen, right? And when we do the work together in the kitchen, she's there in the kitchen seeing us sharing the work, right? That's the role model that each one of us have to take. Another thing that I would like to bring in to the aspect of the corporate world, which I've always observed, especially when there is a meeting happening, who has to take meeting notes? There will be a woman who will raise the hand for this for sure, or the leader in the room will ask a woman to do it. Take that opportunity as a woman and delegate that opportunity to another man, telling that why not that person take the notes versus you as a woman taking them, right? Even after a meeting room with a lot of lunches, I see a lot of women going and cleaning up that space and do not include, I'm going to use the word what Yuki used, said that do not include the men to do the same cleanup even at workspace, right? I very specifically call out men and said, can you come and pick this up or can you come and help me out, right? The best part of the corporate side is no man will say no for you. They might say no at home, but they won't say no at office. So make you utilize that. These are the spaces where you can create empowerment. Don't think all these jobs are women's jobs. They are not. When they were defined, they don't have gender. How do you say cooking is a women? Does cooking word has a gender? It doesn't have a gender. And why does that become very specific women's work? Right? Today, all around the world, the best cook are men. Why are women not seen if cooking is the gender of women? Right? All the chefs are men. Where are women as a chef? Right? That means the opportunity in the world is not given, and the opportunity for cooking is given only at the step out. Stepping out is very important. First step out of your house, like what Srimati said, and also step up at your work. Both are important. Step out and step up. So I would say do both. Step out and step up.
Thank you, ma'am, for your outstanding answer. And next, we can step on to our sixth question. And the question is, which women personality inspired you the most in recent days?
Ginu, I think I've been fortunate enough to be invited for a lot of panel discussions like these and met inspiring women like Preeti and Dr. Kesan. And these are real life heroes for me, people who've achieved enough to be here and be honored as a panelist, as a speaker. So more than Indra Nui or Rashmi Nair or anybody else who probably grabs the top 10 list, I think it is people like us who've gone beyond the cliche, who've gone beyond the typical stereotype challenges that we face in our society and still achieve what we want to achieve and do what we want to do at the cost of, sometimes create an image which we don't quite resonate with, but we go beyond despite whatever people might have to think about us. So when Preeti was talking about partnership, with the husband, I have been into forums where I have discussed about my partnership, and I think my husband didn't have a choice. Being blessed with twins means you need two mothers, not one. So he's the other mother, right? And he's totally played that role very well. But as much as I thank him, he thanks me too to be where he is because of my support, as much as I had his support to be where I am. But when we talk about equality, a lot of eyebrows go up. I've seen that expression on people's face, Preeti, when they say, "Oh, poor husband. I mean, he cooks, huh? Are married to Preeti, not easy." Right? I mean, I don't. My wife doesn't ask me to. My wife is good. And then the wife wants to stay good, right? So wife says, "You don't worry. You continue having popcorns. I will do this also and I will do that also. Because I'm not Preeti and I'm not Preeti." But that's what I'm trying to tell you. When you are comfortable with that, and where that comfort comes, it comes with self-love. It comes from self-love, right? If I don't love myself, then I'm an empty vessel. How can I quench your thirst if I'm an empty glass myself, right? So if I want to give you love, I need to fill myself up with love first. If you think that you lack self-love, whether you're a man or a woman, a boy or a girl, if you lack something, you don't have the ability to give it to anybody else. So if you want to really create that space for respect, respect yourself. If you're seeking love, love yourself first. And when you do that, then these conversations become easier. To say, you know what, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. You need to do that as well. Let's do this together. We've got to partner. Like I said, in my experience, I haven't seen many men resisting the part that they have to play. It is the women who resist in asking them to do so. You stop resisting, you put your hand up and ask for it, and you will have more people than you can imagine to support you in this journey. One more point that I want to mention when you're talking about inspiring women, I think any woman who plays a role of a mother-in-law and creates the space for her daughter-in-law to be an individual is an inspiring woman. If you have one at your place, then make sure that they know how inspiring that is, because women also have to stand up to the occasion to support other women. And in fact, that is a bigger challenge for us. I think men understand this better than the other women do. That we need to get the space to leverage on what we can today, which we probably couldn't 20 years back, 40 years back. But where women come from more often than not is I couldn't do 10 things. You can do at least three. you know, I couldn't do even three. I'm allowing you three, live with that. Why? Why is anybody, if I can get all 10, allow that to happen, right? Allow that to happen for your daughter-in-laws as much as you allow that to happen for your daughters. Inspiration lies next door. I think it is our ability to seek inspiration from people. And that's really important. I strongly believe each one of us has the ability to inspire others, and each one of us has the responsibility to keep getting inspired by others around.
Thank you, ma'am. That was really amazing. And next, I ask Srimati ma'am to answer the question. Please, ma'am.
Well, I think we're all three rebels sitting here, instead of giving some names, oh, I was inspired by Indira Gandhi, I was inspired by Indira Nooyi. Here we are gundas sitting here and saying, oh, I am inspired by myself, I'm so proud to be sitting amidst Yukti and Preeti, wonderful girls, because that's what I feel. I mean, I'm always inspired by myself. If I don't love myself and if I don't get inspired by myself, I'm not going to be doing anything and I will not have the ability to move forward and step up to do anything, nor will I be an inspiration to somebody else. So I always love to be inspired. I mean, yes, you look at Jacinda, you get so attracted to her, and the Prime Minister of New Zealand, the way she handled the pandemic. I mean, I was so happy, awestruck that another woman is able to do something. She is doing her role perfectly. So similarly, I think we are all doing our roles perfectly, and inspiration is something that we kind of learn something out of people, learn some tidbits, some stories from others. But basically, the inspiration should come from within us. So I always am an inspiration to myself, because today I'm at 1%, tomorrow I'm at another percent. So, that difference is the inspiration. So, that level of percentage move is that level of percentage shift is what is an inspiration. And I'm happy to be an inspiration to myself.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for extraordinary answer. Next, I request Preeti ma'am to answer the question.
Before I say who inspires me, I think you guys know who inspires me by now after hearing to Yukti and Dr. Srimati. uh, but I think I'll just answer that question, that like when Yukti was saying, right, when Preeti says that her partner is cooking, I've always got that statement, yeah, my wife doesn't ask me, it's you, your husband. Oh, poor guy. But I've also seen women saying, how sweet. And I think this is the statement I get a little annoyed with. Why don't you say I'm sweet? Right? Because why don't you say you're sweet? Because so much work all women are doing at home. And as I also said at the beginning of it, equality, charity begins from home. Equality also begins from home. Okay, we expect the corporate space to be equal, so make sure you also, and you as a woman has to make sure that happens, right? Ask for it, make it happen. And today's men are ready to listen to you. They're very much ready. There are definitely men who don't, but if you have if there are men who are ready to listen to you, take their help, right? There are a lot of men allies who are there for help. I have had more male friends than female, right? And all of my male friends have been very helpful for me, and all of my female friends have been very helpful for me. So definitely make utilize about your ecosystem. Now, coming back to the question, who inspires me? I think every woman around me inspires. Every woman has a beautiful story to tell about herself, uh, and and each story has a lot of success, inspirational, and also they're very aspirational as well. Right. A lot of us put ourselves aback, but I would say if you want to find the inspirational women around you, go to the mirror and tell your story, and you will find that woman in front of you. So don't search for any woman who's inspiring. Just go to the mirror and tell your story.
I think this woman cooking and men cooking, I think it is ingrained in our soul, Preeti. You know,
Yeah.
it's totally ingrained in our soul that women need to cook, and you cannot ask your husband to cook. You know,
I
but
didn't ask
now
my
I
husband.
think a lot of
He's
women, lot of
voluntarily happy.
lot of mothers have really brought up their sons very smart, saying
Very well.
that please beware, you have to support your woman. So I think that's where this new generation is evolving, and it's very, very beautiful to see this new generation, the partnership between the new generation.
I'm reminded of that movie English Winglish, where Sridevi says that when men cook, they are chef.
Yeah.
When women cook, and they are just cooks, right? So it's a big deal. But when a man is cooking, then he's a chef. There's respect to that role. That's the difference.
Very true.
Yeah.
And you take for that matter, right? When we talk about chefs, who come into our mind? It's
Yeah,
hard
it's always
to
the
see
men.
women.
It's always the men with the,
Yes.
clad in a hat and stuff like that, the chef cap and all that.
And even the cooks for the people at the marriage and everywhere, they're all men. So why are women cooking? I still wonder.
I think we put ourselves everywhere.
True that. Gino, let's move to the next question.
Yeah, okay, ma'am. Let's move to the next question. And the seventh question is, if you think that you are unique compared to other women, in what way will you express yourself as unique?
Okay. This will have to sound like a brag, right? You're inviting us to brag a bit.
I thought
Okay,
we
so
bragged quite a bit right now. I think we all bragged quite a bit so far.
already, how much? How much you want us to? My goodness.
I think
For a
we
day
should
we've done
put
enough.
this challenge. I think we should put the challenge to the moderator and say, okay, find the uniqueness that you found in all three of us.
Yeah,
No,
go to
just
our
because we were unique, I think we were invited for this panel.
right.
Let's
So
put
you
it that
tell us
way.
what uniqueness you saw. Let's put the ball back in your court, Ginu. Show up to the occasion, rise to the occasion, and tell us what is unique about us.
Yeah, I think we would be like inspired. We will, I mean, this is another way of asking to appreciate us, but yeah, go ahead and tell.
Poor thing. She's in a spot and she's disappeared.
No, ma'am,
Ginu,
I'm there. I'm there.
okay.
Still alive, ma'am.
Yeah, we're just trying to have some fun Sunday morning. Yeah, life is not all that serious. Yeah, so just to take you away from the spotlight, Ginu, I think all of us are unique. We are all unique with our madness, our hunger to learn, our hunger to grow, ask for more from life, fail and rise and fail and rise. Wake up every morning, even if the last day was bad, you wake up hoping that this will be a better day. That's what we all do, but we do that in our unique ways. So, what makes me unique is that I don't know how unique that is, but I'm an absolute optimist and a go getter. And I get up every morning thinking this is going to be the best day of my life. And I end every day thinking it wasn't so bad. And that's what just keeps me going. And I just love life till for as long as it's there for me until as long as I'm breathing. And I think that I'm truly blessed to have found the courage at the right time in my life to follow my heart, which is so difficult. It is not for women. for anybody, not just for women. Right? To follow your heart takes courage because it doesn't come with a very clear business plan. It doesn't start reflecting in your bank statement, especially if you're working as a banker, which is like a dream come true after MBA. We all want to land up being with the bank because you know that your salaries will add to your ego. It did just the same to me, and letting that go and follow your heart to start from the scratch was not easy, but the best decision of my life. And let me share that the credit for that decision also goes to the men in the corporate world who didn't make it easy for me to stay there and continue doing the best I could, especially after becoming a mother and having the responsibility of getting back home on time. I was the only woman as well as Dr. Kason was in the product phase in the bank. Every single opportunity that I've got in my over a decade-long corporate stint was where I found myself alone in the room. Especially if it was a boardroom discussion, I would not see any woman there. I was the only one always, which means that if there were challenges which an early mother had to face, like a young mother had to face, were not understood by the men in the room, right? And beyond a point, let me confess that I just kind of exhausted myself explaining, and I thought it's better I move on, not knowing moving towards what. And it's in that journey of uh, choosing to be a mother more than anything else that I discovered myself, that I found the courage to create SBY Academy. Silhouette by Yukti serves people to be better leaders. And I think in that I found my calling. But it's not been a straight answer. It's not like I woke up one morning and I saw that this is my next thing to do and I went and I got it. No, it's not such a fairy tale. It was a mix of so many emotions, of a sense of failure, of a sense of losing on to time, the opportunities, the hard work not paid off because I quit. And I didn't quit to myself, but I quit explaining why motherhood is important, why a nursing mother needs to get back on time, why men around cannot understand things as simple as that. I quit being a part of conversations where people would discuss recruiting younger staff basis, how old she is, how quickly she might get married, and after that, how quickly will she get pregnant, and how will that impact work. Those conversations have happened under my nose, and they were annoying to say the least, right? But being the only woman in the room didn't make it easy for me to raise that as a concern. With me, these are practical challenges. We might say a lot of things, but this is a reality. This is what happens when you are recruiting women. You always think about what happens if she gets married. What happens if she gets married? She comes back and she works again. What happens if she becomes a mother? So what? She'll finish her nursing period. She'll come back again. Nothing is taken away from. Look at Bollywood, like such a classic example. Your career in Bollywood is till such time you're not married or you don't disclose that you are. Look at Hollywood or any other film industry. The career that they enjoy is a function of how good they are with their craft. And I have been in the glamour world as Gladrax Mrs. India, and I was offered some opportunities in that direction, which anyways I was clear about as something that doesn't fancy me. But because of that phase, I've seen in such close proximity the kind of conversations that happen. And even if you haven't in your own personal experience, you see on screen who Salman Khan partners with as a lover is 25 years younger, 30 years younger. And where are the girls who landed up in that industry with him at his age? They're nowhere. Right. So I think these are the real challenges, and what makes us unique is that we don't give up on ourselves. That's what I think is unique about me. I never did, and I continue to pursue things keeping in mind my own values, and decided never to compromise on that. And there's been absolutely no regret. It was a difficult journey, but totally worth it.
Thank you, ma'am. And as you asked me, I would like to say that, as you already said, raising your hand first. I think not all the women will do that, and I consider that was unique in you and your bold and interesting speech. I was truly inspired in that, and that was unique in you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
ma'am. Next, I request Srimati, ma'am, to answer.
Okay, I think Yukti said it all. I'd just like to add one simple thing that I like to make people feel they are unique, they are special. Every person that comes to me, every person that I meet, I always make them feel that they are unique, they are rare piece, and they are just one. So I think that quality makes me unique from the others. That's about it.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. And you also, I would like to say that you leaded in 450 plus boys. You stood up first, and that was really inspiring. And I found unique in you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Gino.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we'll move on to Preeti, ma'am. Please.
I think uniqueness, all of us are unique. No two individuals are the same. And we bring in, and we should, as a person, appreciate everybody's uniqueness. And it's always a beautiful thing in every person. We actually, as children, we are always brought up with labels, and we continue to give those labels to others and have those labels with us. Uh, One of the important thing that, of course, I learned a little late in my life is to get used to these labels. Getting rid of them is not easy. So getting used to them and okay, that's the label that you have, and moving forward was important. Uh, for me, the way I see the uniqueness is I've been independent from the age of 14, and right from the age of 14, I've always created opportunities for myself and others. And I believe that's unique in me. And I aspire to create more opportunity for myself and others. That's how I see the next remaining part of my life that I have with me.
Thank you, ma'am. And as I noticed, you shared many things about your family, and I think you are in a unique way that you are balancing your family and your personal space and also the corporate. It's really inspiring, ma'am. That's great, and I think that's unique in you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's unique in every woman, though. Every woman today is balancing home, balancing corporate space, and everybody are doing it. So appreciate that, and don't think that you're made for home. You're made for the world. You're not made for the society. You're not made for the home, but you're made for the world. You're here for a reason. So just make the best of your life and like start every day with a smile and end it with a smile. Uh, that's all you need to do.
You are very unique, Ginu, among all the students of JIPT. Today you are asking questions to us, so you are very unique. Stay
Thank,
unique.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you. Means a lot. And finally, we have reached our last question. And our last question is, what is the message you want to convey to our younger generation to come up and grow unique qualities?
Thank you so much for that question, because I can finally now talk to the boys in the room as well. And they must be wondering, is it only for women? Should I log out? But thankfully, I do see some names who I'm assuming are boys. And the message that I want to leave you all with is generic, because I think we have to start sending out generic messages and not directed only towards women. There are no set of rules which are different for women to be successful, either as an entrepreneur or a corporate professional. It's the same. So there are three things that I want to bring to your attention, which is very important to be learned as a skill for everyone present in the room right now and of your age. The first thing that you have to learn is to be more innovative. How do you think out of the box? How do you build the skill to be creative? Creativity is an ask. Innovation is about implementing the creative ideas, right? So innovation cannot happen if you are not creative, if you don't have the skill to be creative, which is not artistic creativity. It's about the ability to think in a different way, create multiple perceptions. So one thing you've got to learn is, how can I be more creative? The second thing that you have to learn, which I'm sure you've realized in this pandemic, is how do I adapt to change? Because change is the only constant. If it was just a quote a while back, it's a reality which has hit us in the face today because of this entire pandemic. People have shut down their businesses. People don't know how to survive because they did not know how to bring their business online. They didn't know how to use technology for their kind of business. Those who have survived are the ones who understood technology and were a step ahead. Whether it is education where you have edutech, right, or it is agriculture where you have agritech, you have a tech arm for everything. For a finance, you have a fintech. You've got to understand topics that you don't understand, widen your canvas, and adapt to change. And the third thing that I want you to remember and work on is, how do you take calculated risk? How do you open yourself up to risks? Where is risk? Risk is outside your comfort zone. Within the comfort zone, there is no risk because you already know it, right? You kind of figured out this space. You face risk when you face fears. And fears are a symptom that you are headed towards growth. Because if you don't face fear, you're not doing anything out of your comfort zone. Are you with me? So you've got to move towards growth, which means you've got to overcome fear, which means you have to take risks. What is the fear? Fear of failure, fear of being laughed at, fear of being a fool. All these are risks that you will have to take, because those who don't can continue to be a follower. But if you're training yourself to be a leader, leading your life on your terms and conditions, you've got to be okay to take risks. And that courage comes with clarity. It comes with clarity. So work on your clarity. So that's what I want to leave you with. Make sure that you are expanding your ability to be creative. Make sure that you are adapting yourself to change, and make sure that you're building the courage to take risks. That's all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Next, I request Srimati ma'am to answer the question. Please, ma'am.
Very few things that I want to leave you children behind with. Understand yourself first. The purpose of your birth. How beautiful this entire life, you know. So in this span of journey, what you should be doing, forget gender bar, forget gender. You know, everybody is a human first. So pull your strength, stretch yourself, and go until the thread or the threshold breaks. You know, work until then. You completely give yourself towards that. Whatever you believe in, whatever you believe in, it doesn't mean that you have to be a corporate woman or a woman sitting at home, but whatever you believe, that's most important. And then forget self pity, because I see most of the women, you know, you break, you fall down, immediately, you know, self pity crops up. So just forget self pity, be as strong as possible, work hard. World is beautiful, your life is beautiful, enjoy every bit of it. Happiness should be your bonus. Every day, your bank account, the account of life, should be how much you laughed, how much you were happy, how much you've made others happy. Rest of it will fall in place. So just be happy, children, and work hard. Everything will fall in your platter.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Next, I ask Preeti ma'am to answer the question. Please, ma'am.
Yeah, I think it's very again. After I think Yukti and Dr. Srimati covered it quite very well, and I think only one thing that they covered: innovation, self-love. A very important thing is, having self-pity, right? Stop having self-pity. Uh, don't get into guilt trap, right? I think those are the few things that I would tell you. And be a curious learner, right? It is very important that you be curious to learn enough. Every day you get an opportunity to learn. So don't while you are be in a hurry to learn, but not in a hurry to get validation by others. Don't do that, right? As you make yourself curious to learn, curious to learn will help your innovation, curious to learn will help your self-confidence, a lot of things it will help. But what gets into a problem while you're learning is the validation from the others, right? That is where that will get. So stop having or going by rules, or stop having those validation. You young generation, both men and women, have ability, capability to break the rules, break them in a very right way, not in a wrong way. So break them, be the role model to each other, right? Don't search for role models, be the role model to each other. I think that's the message that I would want to leave this room with.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. It's my privilege and pleasure conversing with all the three wonderful, inspiring, sensational panelists. And thank you for answering my questions patiently, and thank you for your extraordinary answers. Now, I hand over the session to Ms. Shobana. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ginu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ginu. Good work.
Thank you, Ginu.
Thank you, Ms. Jinu. Now I request everyone to turn the camera on for the group photo session. Please, everyone.
Please tell us when we have to say cheese and all. Otherwise, we don't laugh, as you would have figured.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Now I request all the participants, if you have any queries, you can unmute yourself or put your queries in the chat box.
Good morning, ma'am. Myself, Pavitra from JPI Institute of Technology. I have a question for all of you. If you are not in this position, who do you think your replacement for your position? Or who do you think you can someone? If you think someone can replace your position, then who it is?
Can I take that question? As we all said, we are all unique.
Exactly.
Nobody can replace anyone's position, right? We are all in this position because we created these positions. If you hear to what Yukti was saying, what Dr. Srimati was saying, these positions were all created by us. We made the path for us. So, and I'm sure each one of you have more strength and more ability in you, which you can create more different positions for yourself, and nobody can replace you. There's only one person who's born, who's like you, that is you.
Thank you, ma'am.
If any other participants have any queries, you can unmute yourself and ask or put the queries in the chat box.
I think Sunday morning we've spoken so much and so much. It's too much in everybody's head now.
Ma'am, myself Sanjay. I need a confirmation, ma'am. I need a clarity. I used to judge people. Uh, when I'm working with, I used to judge their character on their strength and weakness and all. Is that my masculinity, which been insisted because of my society, I'm judging, or is that a right way to do that, ma'am? As you discussed, I noticed that judging someone is like a character of masculinity. Like, so am I in the doing right, or is there anything to I need to change?
Yeah, I mean, can I take this? Okay, thank you. I'm so happy that in a forum like this, first of all, you've come out and blurted this question. I mean, it's so I think from today you will not be doing that. Judging somebody is a personal character. And of course, yes, you, if I have to tell you, they will call you an MCP. Okay. So please don't do that, because in a long run, what happens is when you start judging people, you are not going to be comfortable because nobody is perfect. And if you start looking out for, somebody being perfect, then it's very difficult to get along. You may not have friends, you may not have a great family, because this character of yours will, psych you to that extent that, you will not trust anybody. So this is a chain of reaction. One small thought process will break the entire chain, and you're not going to be comfortable with anybody being with you. So I'm so glad that you brought it out today, and you are young. Please throw that, character about judging people. Rather, you should judge yourself. You judge yourself, how you should be now, how you should be tomorrow. Start thinking about that, and I think that will actually make you as a good human being.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can
Thanks a lot.
I'll just add to that quickly. So I think, first of all, I want to congratulate you. Is that Sachin? What did you say your name?
Sanjay, ma'am.
Sanjay. So I think firstly, you should congratulate yourself for being self-aware of the fact that you judge. Everybody judges. Everybody. Whether it's a man or a woman, young or old, we all judge others as humans. That's how we operate. We all judge. Some of us are aware, and some of us are so unaware of it that they are probably even in a state of denial. There are a few people who you will meet and they'll say, I never judge. And I think that's an absolute white lie, because everyone judges. Now the question is, do you make decisions basis your judgment or not? That's an important question to look at. So I think you should not blame your masculinity for it. You should, in fact, be happy with the fact that you're aware that you judge. And the next step now is to make sure that you not only question your own judgment, question it, because questioning the judgment reduces the judgment. Go beyond and make sure that you're not making any decision basis that judgment. So when you start questioning it, you will also question the decision that comes, which you assume. And then look at that again, but objectively. So judge your own judgment. And that is the practice of being more and more self-aware, more and more self-aware. Self-awareness will reduce the level of judgment. So one question that you can use as a practice, which I share a lot with a lot of my clients to kind of calm their nerves down, because judging others is very exhausting. It's a full-time job. And it's too much hard work, which doesn't pay off really, right? So if you want to ease your nerves and not judge, here is a question you can ask yourself. Are you ready for the question? You have to write this down. Okay. So the question is, who am I to judge? Simple. Who am I to judge? Who am I to judge who you are and how you are? I don't know you. Please remember that when you meet somebody, you are reading or looking at one paragraph of their whole life. What has happened in their life, you have no idea. You judge what you see of them today, but the way they are today is a function of earlier pages of their life. So unless you've read the whole book, don't judge a paragraph. And if you remember this, you will know that I am only looking at a paragraph right now, and hence I don't know who you are. Who am I to judge? It's a practice. It's a practice. It takes a lifetime for us to overcome that. But I'm so glad that you're aware of how you're functioning and the fact that you want to overcome it. So congratulations on that.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. It's a really good question I need to raise from my side. Who am I? It will help me a lot, ma'am, in my further coming days.
I'm sure. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Okay.
another question.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, please.
How do you handle stress and work pressure, ma'am?
Can I take that? Please. Okay. So you will have to write this again, okay? I can't help it. Writing helps us to retain 47% better than otherwise. It's just a conversation. And if you want this conversation to really create an impact, an immediate impact, I would request you to write down one statement that says, no one can put pressure on me unless I allow them to. Pressure is always taken. It cannot be given. You can't put pressure on me. I take pressure on myself. Understand this. Right now we are talking, like three of us, right? We could operate under performance pressure. What do you expect us to be like, talk like, behave like? And then we decide not to take that pressure and show up the way I am, the way Dr. Kesan is, the way Preeti is. And we are like, we just showed up the way we are, right? So even if you thought you were putting pressure on us, we took no pressure, right? So pressure is always taken by us. It is not given by anybody. When we understand that, there is nothing to handle. All you have to do is to show up the way you are, which means be authentic, which means you will not be perfect, which means you will not know everything. And that's all right. So with acceptance comes authenticity. A lot of people talk about being authentic, be authentic, be authentic, be yourself. It's not easy. It's not easy because we are not ready to accept our imperfections. What if I come across as an imperfect speaker? What if I don't have an answer to that question? What if my answer is not so inspiring? I have to be inspiring. And I'm taking that pressure on myself. Oh God, today I have to be inspiring from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. What can I do to be more inspiring? Right? So if you say that, okay, this is how I am, this is who I am, I'm going to show up as who I am. If you find inspiration in that, amazing. If you don't, you will definitely inspire me in some way or the other. And I'm going to take that away from me. So I'm showing up authentically because I accept who I am and who I'm not as yet and who I want to be. And it's work in progress. We are all forever work in progress, forever. Right? And when you understand that, then there is no pressure. And when there is no pressure, you are handling nothing. The same goes for stress. Stress is the response of our body to prepare ourselves and defend ourselves to an external threat. If you study stress, you will understand how we have self-defense mechanisms inside our own human body, so beautifully designed by whoever has designed this, that we come to our own defense against external threats. But we don't understand stress the right way. We use stress as a synonym of pressure. I'm stressed because there is pressure on me. No, stress is a different thing altogether. And stress can be very useful. It can help you to perform better, as long as you don't make stress chronic. It becomes chronic when you start operating under that stress. When you don't prepare your body mentally, physically, emotionally to deal with stress, till such time stress is still healthy because it is a self-defense mechanism. Are you with me? Whoever has asked that question. Pavitra, great question. So I'll open it to Dr. Kesan and Preeti for their comments. But from my end, I think pressure does not exist till such time you create it for yourself. And stress is healthy till such time you don't make it chronic.
Absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am.
I mean, it's perfect. Bullseye.
I can't say no for whatever you said. Don't take stress. I think it's up to you if you want to take stress. I mean, stress is good. There's always good stress. But again, it's up to you as an individual how you manage it.
Hello, ma'am. I think I'm audible, right?
Yes, you are.
Hello.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am. This is Rahul Kannan from Japan Institute of Technology. Good to see you all. I have one clarification with you, ma'am. Due to this COVID situation, we are all in the work from home, right? We how to handle the responsibilities in work from home, like as when you when you work in the work from home situation, we have a family work, we have our personal work, also we have our work also. In college students, we have a college work also. How to handle the so much of responsibilities in due to this situation?
COVID or no COVID, I think you have responsibilities. COVID is not given a special responsibility, but I think, staying at home is, become a big responsibility for you now. You children are not going out and hanging out anywhere. I think that is creating a little pressure on you that, all this are making you feel that, there is something that is pushing you hard. But I think, we are all human beings are made to juggle. We are wired that way that we can juggle things, and we can move. Yes, of course, men, now boys or men, I should say, understand more about the woman at home, how she is managing both work and life balance. So you are only understanding that now, and probably you're trying to support them and do things now. So that's why for you everything is glorified. It's all simple. I think, COVID, no COVID, we are all the same. Mentally, it is just that it is pushing hard because we are at home now and we are not going out.
Just to add to that, if I may, I think what we have to understand is that the old routine does not work in the new normal, right? So old routine was, this is my college time, this before that is my breakfast time, then I go with my friends, it's my friend time, then I come back, it's family time, now it's TV time. All of that has just got merged into one time, and that's the new normal. But with new normal comes a new routine, which means you create like a ratio which is considered as best basis research, to have maximum focus. So that is a 90-10 ratio, which means 90 minutes of concentrated work and 10 minutes of break. So 90 minutes focus on what you need to do, whether it's your assignment, your project, your studies, or whatever that you're engaged with. And that they take that 10 minutes break to reconnect with your friends, go have a cup of tea or coffee with your family member, come back and then focus. That's one thing to do. Remember the 90-10 ratio. The second thing that you need to do is to be realistic about your to-do, which means what are the 3 most important things I must complete today? Are you with me? You've got to be clear about those 3 things and don't make that 30. Don't be unrealistic with yourself. These are the 3 most important things. I will do anything more than I do is bonus, but these 3 things I've got to do. Be realistic with your to-do. Be realistic with the plan that you make for a day. It should be realistically possible to do it. That's number 2. Number 3, chores are not a pressure on us. It's our responsibility towards people we love. It's our contribution to be a part of a family. If I have such a big problem in dusting the shelves and cleaning the floor, then I should live by myself where I'm okay with a dirty floor and shelves not being dusted. But if I've chosen to be with the family, we have to set us a few rules, and we have to willingly, happily accept that, right? As your contribution towards keeping this family safe, healthy, and protected. So look forward to those chores and have fixed time for those chores. They can't just come in because somebody is scolding you to finish that. You were to do laundry, abhi tak nahi kiya, get up, go finish it. Shouldn't work like that, right? You say, okay, this is the fixed time, 4 o'clock to 4:30 or 5 o'clock, I'm going to finish the chores that I'm responsible for in the house. Go wrap that up and the whole day is yours. And then focus on your to-do again. So you need to create a fixed time for things that you don't necessarily enjoy. I'm using chores as an example because for most of us, it's not something that we are thrilled to do, but we have to do because it's our responsibility towards our family. For the rest of it, create flexibility. Be okay if you don't feel like doing it right now. Come back to it when you do. But remember, after 90 minutes of focused work, give yourself 10 minutes of break. And you'll be able to manage this really, really well.
I'll just add to it. I think one thing that during pandemic that I didn't change is what was happening before, right? While the pandemic started, I wasn't sure how long this would be there, right? We were all, I think none of us were sure. A lot of us did not take it seriously. What did I mean, of course, this rule may not apply for everybody, but it, like what Yukti said, see what works for you, right? If there is a change, there is always a new thing that comes in with it, right? What worked for me was I didn't change anything, right? I mean, if I was wrapping up work at one particular time, wrap up work at the same point of time, right? Make sure that you give your family time, give your work the time, and most importantly, very importantly, be it men or women, give yourself a time, right? That time can be anything. Whether you want to go for a walk, whether you want to run, whether you want to just take a tea and just sit with yourself or do whatever it is, but give time for yourself.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Now, let me follow the things scheduled for me today onwards. Thank you, ma'am.
Hello,
Thanks so
ma'am.
much.
I'm Mahalakshmi from JPR Institute of Technology. I have one question. What do you think is the significant barrier for a woman leadership, ma'am?
Sorry, I couldn't get the question.
What is the significant barrier to women leadership?
You yourself, nothing else is a significant barrier. Barriers are created in our mind, isn't it? Would you agree?
Yes.
Dr. Kason? Preeti?
I was just going to say that it's you yourself because we don't believe in ourselves, you know. The day we start believing in ourselves, I think there is no significant barriers at all.
So what are the barriers you face in your career, ma'am?
Just believe in yourself. Just believe that you can do.
And don't crib and cry for everything. You know, the first thing that people think of women is tears. So don't shed tears. It's very pricey. So don't shed tears.
Yes, ma'am, sure.
Sorry,
Ma'am,
I'll
there
have
are
to.
some.
Yeah, I'll just be able to take only one more question. I need to go ahead with another commitment. There is one question I see in the chat box from Viraja. How do you decide what's worth fighting for or stay calm? When to stay calm and when to pick a fight? I would pass the question to my co-panelists and then share my views. So, Dr. Kason.
How do you decide what's worth fighting for or stay calm?
Yeah. So, what to pick up as a fight and where to not pick up as a fight? That's what I've understood, Viraja. I hope that's what you mean.
Okay, I think whichever is affecting your self-esteem, probably not only yourself as a woman, I would say, because this whole subject or the subject for our discussion is woman. So I would say anything that is hurting the self-esteem of a woman, I think we have to step up and fight. Rest of the things, I think most of it, I think we have to take it calm because if you're going to be agonized and I don't think you can really work. So stay calm and things will fall in place.
Preeti?
I think it is more on, fight for your rights, first of all, right? I mean, if there's something that is denied, and that's your right. Ask for it, and ask in a very rightful way. When you ask for what you want, it is up to you. How do you actually stay calm, right? When you know this is good for you, you will automatically stay calm, right? You won't struggle with it. And I'll also say plus one to what Dr. Srimati said. When it hurts your self-esteem, right? Pick up the fight, right? But there are certain battles where the rights and self-esteems are not there. Choose your battles. You don't have to fight every battle and say, I'm a powerful man or a powerful woman. No, right? Not all battles are supposed to be fought. Just let go certain things. That's okay. Nothing will change. One of the important question that you need to ask for yourself at that point of time is how important this is for you, right? And what is an impact that will bring, right? And if it's just sometimes most of the battles are waste of time according to me. So think about it. The only question that I ask myself is how important it is for me, and what is an impact on it. And if it means my right and my self-esteem, I'll go for it. Otherwise, depending on the situation, I generally manage the situation versus fight the battle.
Perfect. I would absolutely agree with what both of you said. And just to add to that, let's learn and understand what it means to be a peaceful warrior, right? You can be a peaceful warrior as well, which means you can stand up for what you want and still be calm. So with that, I think we just pick up one last question for now. You and Nandini is asking, what is it that we can do? What would you recommend or advise to a young person entering your field? And she's talking about all three fields because we all three come from very different fields. But if I may answer on everyone's behalf, I think before you enter any field and understand what it takes to get there, you should understand why you want to get there. Understand and do some research on what is it that you're looking for and what does that field entail. So spending a little extra time in the beginning to do research to understand things always works better than jumping into something and then figuring out how to be good at it. So I strongly believe that each one of us has a potential to be an outstanding performer for as long as we are performing on the right stage. You've got to choose your stage. If you're trying to perform on a wrong stage, no matter how good you are, your performance will be a mediocre performance. If you want to excel, you've got to first see what you connect with, what is your stage. And that requires some research externally and some internalization internally, right? Your own self-reflection to see what do you connect with, what's your calling. So that'll be my quick answer to this. Once you figure that out, then figuring out what best can be done to excel is the easier question to handle.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I call upon Ms. Sinduja from first year Electronics and Communication Department to deliver vote of thanks. Please, Ms. Sinduja.
Thank you, Ms. Sovana. Be thankful for what you have. You will end up having more. A big thank you to our honorable chief guest, Dr. Srimati Kesan and Ms. Itti Kapoor Mahendrata and Ms. Preeti Guruswamy. It was really very useful and good panel discussion. Thank you for gracing the event with your valuable presence, even in your busy schedule. On this note, I would like to thank our director, sir, Dr. N. Principal Ma'am Dr. L. M. Merling Livingston and JIT Nano Satellite Team Director Benisha Ma'am and Dr. Gonax Ma'am for providing encouragement and support to organize the event. Without you, the event wouldn't have been possible. Thank you so much for being a huge support factor. Last but not least, I would like to thank everyone for your valuable and lovely presence and your contribution to this event. We will meet in it another event. Thank you for the challenges, opportunity, and beauty of the day.
Thank you, Ms. Sinduja. Kindly check the chat box for feedback form which is being posted, and I request you all to fill it up for certification. Thank you each and everyone who stood with us and made this event a grand success. Thank you everyone.
Thank you,
for the
dear. Thank you
opportunity.
so much. Thank you, everybody. Yukti, it was wonderful meeting you. Preeti, lovely.
Absolutely, likewise.
Good luck and God bless you guys.
Let's connect. We'll connect again on LinkedIn. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much. It was lovely interacting with you all. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. It was lovely interacting and a lot more fun to see the panelists, definitely for sure. I had a good, fun panel.
Gunda panelists.
All right. Take care. Take care. I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.